Hello, this is my discussion five, kind of based off of our assignment four units that we did. I ended up finding three articles that I thought kind of fit in really well with what I was focusing on with basic sentence structure. So the first two articles I found are actually kind of organized by, or written kind of by the same person, just kind of a few years later. So there are some differences, and I'll note those when I get to that second article. Basically, for this study, what he wanted to do is he wanted to see how direct instruction and precise teaching um, intervention could help improve the sentence structure, simple sentence structure of middle school students, particularly with either disabilities or with writing difficulties. So how he did this originally, he identified the students he had for his study, which he ended up with 15 students, divided up between three um, teachers, two of them gen ed, one of them special education. And they conducted small groups with their students in kind of like a tier two setting. Um, Basically, they started initially with establishing a baseline. So basically, for this, they administered this sentence construction probes. Basically, what it was is they had an image, a subject, and a predicate, and a space for writing. And students would have to create sentences based off of that. Um, so during that time, they didn't run any intervention. It was just all normal instruction. However, once they've established that baseline, what they did was they went ahead and begun those interventions. For the interventions, there was kind of two pieces to it. One where they refer to as SI, which is sentence instruction sessions. And basically, they use direct instruction and model lead test instructional formats to teach this. In the first lesson, they defined what simple sentences were and discussed some basically subjects and predicates. Um, and kind of that one into the second lesson, they looked at more phrases and simple sentences and had students identify whether it was a complete sentence or a incomplete sentence. On lesson three, they constructed multiple simple sentences using basically a series of those picture word prompts similar to what they did in the baseline activity. From there, the next bit is what they called the frequency building to a performance criterion sessions. And before they got to this one, students had to at least perform at a 90 percentile with having correct word sequences within their sentence structures. These particular sessions were about 15 minutes. They included the instructor modeling complete simple sentences. They had two 1 minute time trials for sentence writing, and then the instructor would give feedback and error correction, and at the basically at the end of that trial. And those, once again, those picture word prompts that were used in the baseline was kind of that same style that they used. From this particular study, what was discovered is that implementing these interventions did have an increase in the accuracy of students' abilities to write in simple sentences. They saw a 20% hike from that baseline. Additionally, they discovered, kind of summarized that by using those direct instruction and precision teaching, they're able to have that improvement in student writing ability. Now, a couple things they noted from this is that within the study, things that they didn't really pay attention to is maintenance of these skills. So did these skills kind of continue over time, or did they kind of drop off? And additionally, they recognized that within the pictures that they used, not all the students might have had that prior knowledge to understand and be able to correctly write sentences based off of the prompts that they were given. Okay. The second article that I found, as I said, it was also by, or kind of conducted by the same guy, but there was another person who worked with him on this one as well. Um, in this particular one, it kind of had that same goal, except it had a few different focuses, which were this one focused specifically more on students with learning disabilities or intellectual disabilities. Um, um, they studied also a smaller group of subjects for this, while the other one had 15 students in small groups. This one had 3 students that they focused on. Um, Something that they added in that they didn't have within the first one. The first one, they focused more on subject and predicate for completing sentences. This one, they added in that kind of grammatical um, part of sentence structure as well. So, kind of focusing on having capitalization, punctuation, and grammar. Spelling, they didn't make too big of a note on as long as it kind of phonetically matched up or made sense for what they were trying to spell. Okay. Something else this one did is after each lesson, it added in kind of a baseline to see how students were doing and progressing. And during this baseline activity, that was that same sort of baseline as the first article. The instructors wouldn't give any feedback or encouragement to students. It was just kind of testing to see where they were at. This one also included that piece that was missing from the first, that was maintenance of what students were learning. And then the other big thing that they noted is this kind of jump from a tier 2 to a tier 3 intervention. The findings on the study that they discovered was that students tended to have improvements within their writing after about 2 to 6 lessons. They improved that accuracy that they had. Specifically, after that frequency building to performance criterion sessions that they did, they improved on both accuracy and speed. After participating in these lessons, in these interventions, they also noted that students didn't tend to show errors with grammatical skills that were taught within those lessons. The third article that I found, this wasn't a different one, but basically this focus was kind of along a similar line, because the focus was on evaluating the student's ability for for sentence writing, but it focused it on moderate to severe disability students. They focused with or they conducted their study with a smaller group of students, like the second article that we just looked at. And these students were specifically within a contained SPED classroom. They were all those moderate to severe disability students. The plan, oh, sorry. There we go. The plan for this is basically they conducted 3 probe sessions in which it used all 3 types of sentence structures to be taught. They gave them basically kind of like a blank page with a particular subject on it. I believe they used animals on these ones, and students would come up with sentences using that as kind of their or that as the inspiration for their sentences. And there were 3 different types of sentences they focused on, which was the subject is adjective. So like the cat is orange, for example. Or the subject, verb. The cat jumped. The subject feels, adverb. So those were the 3 types that they used. So within this one, they kind of had kind of a swapping back and forth. They would hold that intervention over one of those types of sentences, and then afterward, they would conduct another probe session. Hold it for the second type of sentence, conduct another probe session. Hold it for the third type of sentence, conduct another probe session. While they were doing this, they were also looking at student data from unstructured journal activities as another kind of baseline of how students were doing with these lessons. What they found from these were that in those baseline sessions, students were able to or unable to produce consistently those target sentences. But after having those intervention sessions, they were able to use them, those sentences correctly. However, over a increased amount of time, maintenance wise, they kind of slacked off from that. So while in the process of learning it, they might have some of them would do 5 sentences in their journal. However, they found later on they decreased back to like 2 or 3 sentences. All right. So the standard that I linked to this one is staying current with research that supports improved student learning outcomes, including findings from the learning sciences. I feel this one fit in the best, just because we were specifically looking at different studies, scientific studies that had been conducted to help kind of improve what we had already worked on back in assignment 4. So that way we can kind of tweak our own units and be able to improve upon it. So I thought that one fit in best with this. Okay. These were my references, and that's all I've got.